Okay, today we are going to be installing a thermal expansion tank and vacuum relief valve. Okay, so here's the vacuum relief valve. These cost right around $15. Buy them at your local big box store or online. They protect your plumbing system in the event that there's a loss of water pressure in your home or business. It breaks the vacuum inside your cold water piping. Let's take a look. So you can see it's a little spring-loaded valve. So normally under pressure it's closed, but when there's suction inside the water pipe or vacuum, when the water piping loses pressure, you can see how that pushes down, allows air into the piping to relieve the vacuum. That's just a cap that snaps on. This one's 3/4 inch male national pipe thread. There you go. These get installed on the cold water line. Here's a thermal expansion tank. This is a 2-gallon capacity, max 150 psi. And basically what's inside this tank is like a rubber bladder that you fill up with air. And here's a sizing chart depending on the size of your tank type water heater. Tankless water heaters require a really small thermal expansion tank that you don't have to fill up with air. It comes pre-charged, it's not fillable. There's a part number. Again, you can buy these at Home Depot, Lowe's, online. So basically, roughly half the tank is going to have water in it when you hook it up to your water line, and then the other half is going to have that rubber bladder filled with air. And there are two different sizes. Instruction manual. Ideally, this is how you want to mount it. So the air valve should be facing down per the instructions. Again, ideally. So you need a wrench, Teflon tape, pressure gauge. So you can see how that air cushion in there is going to expand and contract depending on the pressure inside your pipes when you have thermal expansion and a closed water system. And again, this one's 3/4 inch male national pipe thread right there. If I remove this cap, this is the Schrader valve where you check the air pressure or increase the air pressure to meet your static water pressure in your home or business. Use a standard tire chuck, tire pressure gauge to check it and air it up, even with the bicycle pump. Comes pre-pressurized with 50 psi. You may need to adjust it up a little bit depending on your static pressure in your building. I also recommend buying one of these mounting brackets for thermal expansion tanks. See, it has multiple mounting holes. And it mounts the tank like so. It's got a notch that receives that weld bead around the center of the tank. Lots of slots. And these two stainless steel band clamps come with it. So it makes it a quick and easy way to mount this thermal expansion tank because you do not want to rely on the piping to hold the weight of that expansion tank. Here's a T I'm using a push to connect T with 3/4 inch female national pipe thread. That's where we'll thread in the tank. And then another T for the vacuum relief valve. And I'm using Teflon tape and pipe dope to ensure a watertight seal. I find working together, that's how I get a watertight seal every time. There's 3 or 4 wraps with the Teflon tape, clockwise, a little bit of pipe dope. Make sure it's compatible with potable water. And you're simply going to tighten it down. Pretty self-explanatory. And so my static water pressure on my house here is right around 60 psi. I'm going to check the air pressure on this bladder on this tank and see where it's at, and we'll air it up to 60 psi if it's lower than that. But again, you can use a regular manual bicycle pump to do this too. Ideally, you want to check the pressure at least once a year. lot of areas nowadays, local authority having jurisdiction is going to require you to install a thermal expansion tank when you install a new tank type water heater, or even a tankless, one of those little tiny small thermal expansion tanks and a vacuum relief valve. But always check with your authority having jurisdiction what they enforce. And honestly, even if they don't require it, I'd still recommend it because, again, it protects your plumbing, protects your water heater. And thermal expansion happens inside a closed piping system like your house, where after your water main, you got a pressure reducing valve that kind of makes it a closed system. So when hot water expands inside the water pipes, sometimes it'll push water into the cold water line and it needs some place to go. That's what the thermal expansion tank does. It absorbs that thermal expansion. Now that we're aired up, we'll just reinstall the cap. Pretty easy. Here's a second tee. These are great because they work for copper pipe and PEX pipe. And the same thing with the thermal expansion tank. I'm going to wrap Teflon tape, a little bit of pipe dope, and carefully screw it in. Be careful not to cross thread. Let's take a wrench and snug it up. And I'm making my own bracket out of a wood 2x4 and an old bracket that I had lying around. I'm going to use some nuts and bolts and washers to attach it to the floor joist here in the basement. So I'm just going to site the area and figure out exactly where I need to install it, how I want to install it. And I'm going to site on this copper water line where I want the tank to go and mark it with a Sharpie, keeping in mind that I have to make sure I leave room for the mounting bracket, because again, you don't want to have the water line support the weight of that heavy tank when it has water in it. So it'll go like this. So first I'll start off by shutting the water off to the entire house. Then I'll shut the gas off to the water heater. If you have an electric water heater, you can shut off the power to the water heater. I'm going to hook up a garden hose to the drain valve on the base of the water heater and slowly open the drain valve and let the water go down the floor drain. Don't need to drain the water heater out all the way. I'll go upstairs and relieve the pressure in the water line, the cold water side. Now water is going to drain down the piping into the water heater, out the drain pipe. To speed up the drain process, you can open the relief valve. Clean the pipe with some Scotch-Brite pad, because you don't want any nicks or scratches or paint. And again, just sighting where the tank needs to go on the cold water line. Made a mark with a Sharpie. Now I'm using a copper tubing cutter, pipe cutter, to cut the pipe. Might be a little bit of water that drips out. Make sure you have a bucket or a rag underneath you. And you want to clean and deburr the pipe. Every time you make a cut, deburr the inside of the pipe with a deburring tool. Use emery cloth, Scotch-Brite pad, steel wool to clean the pipe, because you don't want any burrs that can cut the O-ring on the push-to-connect fittings. Or even if you're going to solder a T, you want clean pipe to solder to. And I just simply push the expansion tank onto the pipe. And you want to mark the pipe with a Sharpie so you know you get proper engagement or the proper depth that the pipe goes into these push-connect fittings. That's important. And we need to install our vacuum relief valve. So again, clean the pipe. So I'm going to mark it so I get proper insertion depth on my push-to-connect fitting. And there you go. Same thing, I'm going to clean and deburr the other end of the pipe. Mark it with a Sharpie so I push it in the correct depth. And push it in. Good to go. I'm going to reattach the mounting clip. Now we need to mount the mounting bracket. I'll take a Sharpie and measure over where I need to drill my holes. for the mounting screws and nuts, or the nuts and bolts. Wear safety glasses. Now just drill my holes. And you can make your own mounting bracket however you want, or you can buy one depending on your unique situation. So I'm going to mount this metal bracket first to the floor joist with my nuts and bolts and washers. Just tighten up the nuts from the other side. And I already got that slotted bracket mounted to the 2x4, so now I just got to screw the 2x4 to this bracket using countersink wooden deck screws. And again, we're going to use those stainless steel band clamps that came with the kit. Just kind of straightening it out a little bit. And there's multiple slots you can choose from, vertical and horizontal. You just put it through the little worm drive. I'm using a hex driver to secure it all the way and cut off the excess. Same thing with the second band clamp. There you go, everything's installed. So now we're going to remove the drain hose, close the drain valve on the water heater, slowly turn the water back onto the house, go upstairs, make sure all the air is purged out, and then we're going to check for leaks here. No leaks, everything looks good. Now the water heater is full of water. We're going to turn the gas valve back on and relight the burner. I'm going to remove this bottom cover. We're going to turn this black knob to pilot. Press in that knob. Then press this little black button here, the little spark igniter, several times until we see the little pilot light turn on in the sight glass window. And you also see the blue LED start flashing on the gas valve body when the pilot light actually turns on. There we go. So if you look, you can see the blue pilot light in there. The flame is on. Now we're going to hold it for about 30 seconds and then turn it to hot. You got to release it to turn it to hot. And you can see the main burner lit. So we're good to go. Put the cover panel back on. I hope you found this video helpful. Now I'd like to tell you about a practical facilities maintenance handbook available now in ebook and paperback format. It has common facilities documents, signage, tags, resource and training material, as well as shop equipment drawings that you can use to fabricate shop equipment for your facility. The link for this book is in the video description below. Or if you need shirts, hats, mugs, or weather-resistant stickers for your facility, there is a link in the video description below for this online facilities maintenance store where you can purchase the products that you see here. I hope you find this helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.